Today, I want to look at another issue where African leaders are concerned and Africa as a whole. Why is Africa not developing? Africa is not developing for many issues or reasons. Just like I've mentioned in those other videos, I want to appeal. If you want to hear more on how Africa has failed to develop, I bring to you genuine reasons that if each and every individual is going to look at these issues in a critical manner, Africa is going to develop. You can subscribe after watching this video. I appeal to you that you like my page, Jimmy Smonga. You subscribe to my YouTube. That is Jimmy Smonga for you. Now, we cannot develop as a continent without looking at these issues in a critical manner. Therefore, I want us to look at these issues as we continue to ponder on why Africa as a whole is not developing. Africa is not developing because of the leaders that we put each and every time. Whenever we have elections in Africa, we change leadership. We may have changed so many times, putting this one, putting that one. But have we realized the change that we need as a continent? The answer is no. Today I want to look again at another reason why Africa is not developing. Today I want to look at charity. African leaders, most of the leaders that we put to lead our countries in Africa have got no charity. They have got no affection. They have got no altruism. There is no humility in these leaders that we put into the corridors of power. There is no benevolence in these leaders. They don't care. There is no caring in these leaders that we put. There is no goodness at all. They don't have mess at all. There is no kindness among the leaders that we put to lead Africa. No wonder each and every time we continue to lag behind when we are endowed with so many or massive raw materials as a continent. But we continue to lag behind. African leaders carry grudges. When they are sent into power, when they are ushered in power, they carry grudges of their friends. Henceforth, instead of developing, they look at the grudges that they have against those friends, and then they decide to pin them down. That is the mentality that African leaders have. African leaders are so greedy, they can't forgive and forget. African leaders are so greedy, they can't forgive and forget. That is the mentality of an African leader, and no wonder we cannot develop it, because a person who cannot forgive cannot develop. A person who cannot forget cannot develop. And that is the mentality that African leaders have. African leaders think so little, like boys. Most of the African leaders that we have, they think so little like small boys. They are so stingy, so greedy, to say at least. They are so little that they would love to hold on to power, not until they die on that, city as presidents or whatever you are going to call them in the name of leadership. African leaders nurture, they nurture thoughts of revenge. African leaders have got a mentality of nurturing. They nurture thoughts of revenge each and every time. Instead of focusing on development, they nurture mentality or thoughts of revenge. I want to tell you, Africa, my fellow African, that a great mind forget and forgive. That is what great minds do. and great people move on. That is what we are supposed to do as Africans. Leadership is for big people, Africa, not little boys. Leadership, Africa, is for big people. If you want to lead, be big here. Use your brain as an African. If you want to lead, be big, Africa. A leader tolerates. A leader is somehow indulgent. A leader is somehow charitable. A leader is able to forgive. A leader is a forgiving human being. That's what a leader do. African leaders dodge the branches that are thrown at them. When you throw a branch to an African leader, he will dodge by all means instead of embracing those branches and then look at those branches and see how or where he would go with those branches. African leaders are full of mediocrity. They like picking small items from their brothers and sisters and then heap them as they move and then see to it that what their brothers did is really contrary to what is supposed to be done. And they don't forget those things. They move with them instead of developing. We cannot develop in that manner. Once we start keeping grudges for each other in the name of mediocrity, we will not develop as a nation. African leaders do react to revenge each and every time. African leaders are not willing to forget and forgive because they forget that leadership, number one, leadership has to do with forgiving. Leadership has to do with forgetting. Leadership has to do with giving. That is leadership. Without those areas, there is no charity in a leader. African leaders think of themselves first. African leaders think of themselves first. They forget those who put them in those offices. That's what African leaders do. African leaders must have charity, must have a heart of affection, must have a heart of oneness. If you want to be a leader, if you want Africa to develop, if you want Africa to develop, my dear leaders, my dear presidents of Africa, leaders of Africa, forget and forgive. If you are not going to forget and forgive, then your leadership is going to be questionable. Africa will never ever develop. We are endowed with a lot of natural resources, but we can't develop because we have got leaders that are sticking, remembering of the past. Revenge. They want to revenge. Retribution. We will never go anywhere. If you want to be a leader, forget about revenge or retribution. Move on. I love Africa because I'm an African. God bless Africa.